Welcome to TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton. And this is our NXT review. And I gotta say, it's our first NXT review back because we're doing all the NXTs leading up to TakeOver Orlando. It was good. It didn't really blow me out of my seat like I thought an NXT that on paper had two title matches would, but it was a solid effort. I mean, I enjoyed the show. I thought the main event title match was better than the women's championship match, but we'll get more into that a little later. Partner, what did you think of tonight's episode?
Yeah, man, I was really underwhelmed by the women's championship match. I mean, as far as just existing in a vacuum, sure, it was fine, but I was expecting more, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I feel like sort of the performer who was meant to be the bad guy in the match, Peyton Royce, felt very face-ish to me.
See, now, I don't know if I'd go that far because, I mean, she did seem like very brutal and implement a psychology that seemed very heelish.
Her facial expressions and, like, when she would, like, get a 2 count and then, like, sob in, like, anger and depression after she realized she didn't put Asuka away, it felt the match itself, if you take away one simple element, that being Asuka having a bump shoulder for the second half of the match, it very much felt like a young up-and-coming babyface trying to overcome the heel champion.
I guess I can see where you're coming from. See, my thing with the NXT Women's Championship, and actually, you know what? Me talking about it, you'd think we'd be doing a formal review, so it won't take us that long. So let's just get right into our first segment since we're already in a discussive mode. Heat of the night. No really heats tonight or nitpicks. It's just, like I wasn't in love with the show, but I didn't loathe it either. But as far as like complaining goes, I really have nothing to really complain about. Do you have any heats tonight or nitpicks?
A little bit of a complaint. I'm a little bit disappointed by the fact that NXT keeps on ending early.
Yeah, I like the way it ended tonight, but I can see what you mean because there are times when you think like there's going to be more time for them to do stuff, and then you see the logo and we go home.
Yeah, and it's like, and I think it ended at like 8:51 tonight, like 9 minutes early. It's just, to me, like, you have the network, you can run as long as you want, whatever. But to me, like, that should be an opportunity to run longer, not shorter.
Yeah, that's the weird thing too, because I think they even do that with like some pay-per-views where I expected like, oh, is it going to end here and it'll end early? And I never really understood that because it's like it's your network, it's your property. Why end early? But yeah, I feel like that only leaves a bad taste in my mouth if I feel that sense of abruptness. But I'll give NXT credit for this too. For me, I didn't really get that sense tonight. I feel like with the way things were laid out in the main event, there was kind of that sense of finality. But other times, for sure, I totally get where you're coming from. And if you felt that way tonight, I won't begrudge you for it because I mean I've certainly had that feeling in the past with NXT for sure.
Yeah. All right, so that's really my only complaint, and it's not even really a problem with like the writers on the show or anything like that or the performers. It's more just personal preference thing. So if we want to get into it, we can review this show.
Absolutely. Let us get right into our NXT review. And brother, how do we open this baby up?
We open this baby up with Patrick Clark, and I love Patrick Clark. And his opponent tonight was Sean Maluda, who I know you like, but I was very bored with tonight. Like, to me, Sean Maluda he represents everything that I hated about the Usos before they turned heel.
Here's the thing, right? I'm going to be honest. Like, I like Sean Maluda, but I'm not going to be blinded by my liking of him. I don't really see a character there or a presence there. I will give him this. I thought he was a solid hand for Patrick Clark's debut. If you're going to have him go over and debut this character, then I think you need somebody that can at least work with you a decent and, solid match. And I feel like Sean Maluda fulfilled that function. I'm more interested in talking about Patrick Clark because I got to tell you, man, like, I know we've seen this character before, so it's not necessarily new, but now they're pulling the trigger on it, right? It seems like they're really going to push it. And it's so interesting to me because if you would have told me that Patrick Clark that we got on Tough Enough, who, because he's such a wrestling fan and this and that, you would think would be like this white bread baby face, would be this kind of a heel, I mean, maybe I wouldn't have necessarily not believed you because it is pro wrestling and expect the unexpected, but I am surprised they went this route. But I will say, Patrick Clark seems committed to it, and I'm very curious what storylines he could get involved in. I know you've been a supporter of his too, and quite vocal about this particular character, and you've liked the little that we've seen in the past. What did you think tonight?
I enjoyed Patrick Clark's work quite a bit tonight. Yeah, like to me, there's like, I feel like they're missing out by not calling him as just a person the Patrick Clark experience, because they're literally like he's Jimi Hendrix. Like, let's be real, that's what he's doing, and the Jimi Hendrix experience was like an actual thing, and it was awesome. So to me, I think that they need to give him a name that fits that, and the Patrick Clark experience is just perfect, because not only is that like continuing the homage to Jimi Hendrix, but it also actually works because just watching this dude as a character is an experience in and of itself.
And see, like, where I like where you're coming from, and I do agree with everything you're saying, where I come from with the whole Patrick Clark experience thing, I feel like that's almost a necessity with this kind of character, because I've always said when you've got like either bizarre or very colorful or vibrant, and there's one word I used to use, but I can't really think of it at the moment. But when you have those types of characters, I'm always a believer in you put your foot on the gas and you commit.
Right.
Either you go like, all the way or you don't do it at all.
In the mid-90s, it wasn't Goldust. It was the artist formerly known as Goldust. Like, that's what I'm talking about right there. Yeah. Go all the way with it.
Yeah, and that was apropos because, I mean, he had the film company of Shattered Dreams Productions, and you'd see his vignettes, and it was a natural extension to me of the character. Flamboyant was the word I was looking for. Flamboyant. You know, when you have very flamboyant characters, and he does have that flamboyancy about him with the posing and the, oh, aren't I just like an Adonis in my own way kind of thing. And like you said, definitely those Jimi Hendrix vibes. Like, there is a lot to be mined here, but it's only going to be successful.
Is like Jimi Hendrix meets Prince meets Liberace.
Yeah, exactly. That's actually a fine articulation of it. And that kind of combination, again, has so much that can be mined from it, but you've got to be willing to do the work first. I think, for me personally, to really see the true potential of this gimmick, I would limit Patrick Clark to bullet points. I would have him speak very organically, maybe have bullet points, like if you're in a feud, make sure to plug this feud, make sure to say this about this guy, or if you're going to an event, you know, plug the event, but let him be
what kind of
freeform.
Inflections he can do with his voice. Like if he has some vocal talent where he can do like some crazy inflections during his promos to be even weirder.
See, I'm curious about that too, right? Which is why I want his promos to be freeform, because this kind of character, I don't think should be bogged down and regimented. This kind of character, I think it is necessitated they find their own voice.
Because, like, why would you want somebody who looks like this just being like, I am the Patrick Clark experience? And he could be crazy, like, I am the Patrick Clark experience. You know what I mean? Like, go over the top with it, Jesus.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, look, I mean, we just saw on SmackDown, I know this is going to seem like a crude parallel at the moment, but please bear with me. I mean, we saw on SmackDown, right, Randy Orton burn the Wyatt family compound. That was the emphasis on the E in WWE. Like, that was the entertainment aspect. And when you do that, you can get amazing stuff. This guy is a gimmick where the emphasis should be on the E. Let him run loose. Let him develop himself. And hey, I mean, as far as in-ring, the guy's solid. The famous or finish was a bit out of nowhere for me. I didn't expect the finish to come like that. But you know what? It's something that when it gets established, it'll grow like any other finisher.
You know what I want his finisher to be?
What's that?
I want him to take Sandow's old finisher, the straight jacket neck breaker.
Yeah. I could see that. I could see that. Yeah, that could work. And, you know, Patrick Clark, I mean, we've seen so many characters on NXT. They could have one finisher, then when there's a new batch of tapings, they debut another one until they find what fits. This may not be what fits Patrick Clark. I like it for now. If they change it, I'd be fine with that too. The important thing that I think he does have down and hopefully will progress if he's allowed the breathing room is the character. Because
you know, another possible finisher, just because like, the way that he does the poses and the way he like sticks his chest out all the time and that kind of stuff kind of reminds me of Dalton Castle. Let him use Bangarang.
Yeah, that could work. Absolutely, that could work. And it's funny because we name all these personalities and all these different like flavors, and it just comes back to if they really commit to this, because Patrick Clark's going to commit to it. I'm not worried about him at all.
Right. Yeah.
I'm
Exactly.
worried about the creative controls that are regimenting him and his programs, because
Yep.
if you give him breathing room, this guy can go into any storyline, and I wouldn't question it. I don't want them to really like ham fist or crowbar this character into anything. Just let him develop himself and gravitate to a feud.
Yeah.
It's funny because with Elias Sampson, we always say like, oh, what heel potentially has and what potentially has in general as a character, as a performer on a character level. I could very easily say the same thing with Patrick Clark. It's just a matter of will they give him that opportunity. He gets a win tonight over Sean Maluta, but what's the first promo going to be like? What's the first feud going to be like? And that's really where my intrigue is right now.
Well, and I mean, to be fair, we've already seen Patrick Clark as a human being cutting promos on Tough Enough, and he was the best of the bunch.
Absolutely, and we did see with this type of character, if you remember, when he interrupted Nakamura that one time, and I know,
yeah, and that was great too.
Yeah,
that was great too.
Yeah, I know you were like losing your shit, and I just kind of had a smile on my face, like, wow, I can't believe they're giving him this, and I mean that in a good way. Like, I was happy they gave him that, and hopefully that trend continues. So, for the time being, do you have anything you want to say or add?
Yeah, I just wanted to put out sort of a public service announcement. I just want you guys to remember, Patrick Clark is 21 years old.
Yeah. Yes. And thank you for actually bringing that up, because that, I think, is his greatest asset. The idea that not only does he love this business as much as he does, but he's so young that whatever deficiencies he may have in his work, he has more than enough time to correct. And I really believe that he'd be committed to the task of correcting said deficiencies. I think we're looking at one hell of a performer. This is the first character he's running with. I don't know how he'll evolve over the years, and hopefully that's a story we get to talk about. Only time will tell.
Yep. All right. So then we had a Sanity promo, and I got to tell you guys, my network stream was cutting out quite a bit during this. So, John, if you caught what happened here, what was said here, I would love it if you would give us a recap.
I just feel like the sense I got, Sanity was standing by like a dumpster fire of sorts.
Yeah.
Like a trash can with flames like shooting up. And Eric Young more or less is saying like, Ty, you're foolish because you're going down, you're drowning, and you want to bring your friends down with you. Because Ty in a previous promo said how he had friends in Roderick Strong and No Way Jose who were having his back. And Eric Young said, fine by me, more or less. And I think Nikki Cross interjected. I honestly forget what she said. I feel like
I caught what she said. She said something along the lines of like, "We're going to burn the world to the ground."
Yeah, we're going to burn the world to the ground. And so, yeah, I liked it. What I like about Eric Young, regardless of how I feel about Sanity at the moment, which for those of you that just want to recap, I went from, oh my God, I am just so beyond myself right now, this is amazing, to, okay, let's see where it goes. But Eric Young is an individual performer doing crazy. I love his delivery. He doesn't ham it up. It was very straightforward, and you know what? I got it. I felt it. It wasn't like he was pulling at his hair or raising his voice, even like Mick Foley did with Braun Strowman this past Monday. It was just very even-toned, very level-headed, just telling Ty, you know what, that's...
I mean, here's my thing, dude. Like, we talk all the time about how it's a shame that WWE feels the need to bring in freaking TNA performers to try and sell tickets in NXT just because they know that those guys are draws in Florida and that's where they work most of their house shows. But, like,
right.
I think if I had to pick one, now that Samoa Joe has already been called up and he's not in NXT anymore, I would absolutely pick Eric Young because he, to me, is a legitimately good performer. He is a legitimately good talker. I like his delivery. I love his voice. It's so different. There aren't enough different voices in the world of wrestling, and Eric Young 100% has one. So Eric Young has grown on me quite a bit. The group, I'm pretty much in the same kind of boat as you. Marty the Moth Martinez just dropped in the chat to say TWitWoW rules and that he was just dropping by, so thank you very much, Marty.
All hail the fucking Moth, baby! Yes!
And I agree with you as far as the group goes. I think that Sanity is kind of on a downward spiral right now, and they need something to make them interesting, and Big Damo was not the answer, I gotta tell you. So
see, yeah, and Right now, for me, my personal jury is out on Big Damo because I do like the look,
Really?
but yeah, I think it works for the Sanity aesthetic. If they're supposed to be like these intimidating, imposing people, and also, lacking, certain mental capacities and, sanity, I feel like it works. What I'm concerned about is I don't think I've heard him talk yet. And that could be what makes or breaks for me, if they even want to have him talk, because clearly Eric Young's kind of leading in that department, and that's fine. But yeah, I don't know. I still prefer Sawyer Fulton at the end of the day, but I'm not gonna begrudge Big Damo just yet. I want to see more of him. But yeah, as far as Eric Young goes, keep in focus. I absolutely agree with you. And here was a guy in TNA that I was never really a mark for, but I always respected, because he was a guy that would go out and do anything. Hey, you want to be Super Eric? That's fine. I'll be a superhero. Hey, you want to be a guy that has just a freak accident and becomes almost like Eugene Dinsmore? That's fine. Hey, you want to be a heel that leads a group of international people that hate America? Yeah, that's great. I mean, this is a guy that has done everything, and this just feels like a great gimmick for him, and I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, man, absolutely. All right. So I guess we can move on then from the Sanity promo to our second match of the night: Peyton Royce versus Asuka.
And again, I find that I am gonna give one of my compliment sandwiches. I did this a few weeks ago on our last NXT review, I think, before we went on break, enacting our new policy. Something good, something bad, and then something good. Something good. Peyton Royce did not get chewed out like I thought she would be. I honestly thought this was gonna be another. Oh God, what's her name? See, already her name's escaping me. Who's really been working with Ember Moon lately?
Liv Morgan?
Liv Morgan, thank you. See, she's so irrelevant, she even slipped my mind. I thought it was going to be another Liv Morgan, where she was going to get chewed up and spit out. So she actually had a fairly competitive and competent match with Asuka on her end, seeming like a qualified challenger, which was nice. Something negative, and maybe it's just because of how much they've built up Asuka, I could never really suspend my disbelief in this match. And I don't hold it against the two performers. I just think from a kayfabe perspective and a story perspective, I never once believed, oh, can Peyton Royce actually do this? Which is nothing against her, again, because she is a very capable performer, and I love the heel duo of her and Billie Kay. It's just Asuka's been built up to such a point, I never once thought, oh man, are they going to do this? So don't hold it against the performers. Just again, the build of Asuka, it has its consequences when it's going on for this long. And something good, how it ended. But before I get more specific into that, I want to hand the ball to you because I don't want to jump all over the place. Now give your full thoughts on this match and what you thought of it.
Dude, you can't give me a sandwich with one piece of bread.
All right, well, I was going to say the end with Ember Moon coming out because that just continues the tease. Okay. So, yeah. So now, with you here, you got both pieces of bread. What did you think?
I can enjoy my sandwich as I please now. So you know what? Rather than trying to remember everything as it happened off the top of my mind, I'm just going to kind of read off my notes. I only have 4 lines of notes for this, so it shouldn't be long. So the first note that I have regarding this match is that they did in-ring introductions, and that definitely gave it a big fight feel.
Right.
I thought it was strange, and this is kind of agreeing with your meat of your sandwich, the negative part. I thought it was strange that Peyton was really dominant for the most part of this match.
Right, yeah, that was interesting to me too.
And then I also had the note on here about how I felt like Peyton was still it's like she still has certain babyface idiosyncrasies that come out in the middle of an intense match. And when she, in the middle of the ring, when she hit that swinging crescent kick on Asuka and went for the pin immediately, and it was only a 2 count, and then she shot up and her hands went to her face and she had that facial expression. In that moment, I felt bad for a heel that wasn't winning.
Yeah, and it's just so funny when we look at the state of the women's division because, first of all, I do agree with you with Peyton. I was even kind of feeling man, she's putting in all this work, and Asuka's just Asuka. You got to feel a certain way. And then you look at the state of the women's division. I was actually kind of hoping. Now, I love Ember Moon to death, you know that, but I actually had made my peace with the idea, man, are they really going to make Ember Moon so good, but still having to scrap? Almost like a cage. of sorts. Like, we know how good he is, and yet he has to like scratch and claw for all these opportunities. And like, she wouldn't get her title shot until Brooklyn 3, because I was really starting to get on board with that. Because when this beatdown was happening, because I mean, Asuka wins with the Asuka lock, and Billie Kay is like, oh fuck that, and then she tries the beatdown. I thought, okay, so it's going to be a natural progression. Asuka's going to beat Peyton Royce one-on-one. Then it's going to be Billie, and then maybe TakeOver Orlando would be Nikki Cross, because they had that tease, and Nikki Cross wasn't anywhere near the finish because Peyton Royce ate the pin there. And what was it? Not Toronto. Or was it Toronto?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, TakeOver Toronto. And, you know, it just not going to happen like that, it seems, because Ember Moon did make the save, and I'm cool with that. It's just, I don't know. To me, like, I feel some loose ends, and yet at the same time, the bad thing is those loose ends almost seem like a moot point because, again, it's Asuka, and she's been built up in such a way that do I just want to get to the story with the person I actually believe can beat her, or do I want to devote time to these narratives, even though I'm pretty confident in the result that Asuka would just beat them one by one. So that was kind of another thing going on with me. I'm like, okay, now it seems like they're going to do this. But yeah, Billie and Peyton, I hope they can maintain their momentum. I don't know what they're going to do after this. They've shown no signs of splitting up, so I don't think that's on the table. Maybe they will resume their feud with Liv Morgan. I don't know. What do you think the future holds for them?
We're getting corrected in chat. It was TakeOver San Antonio that match happened in.
San Antonio,
I think Toronto was Mickie James. That's right.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's why I struggled. So, thank you. But
you know, I think the thing is, John, I think they're calling up Asuka soon. I didn't ever expect them to call up Asuka, which is why I was kind of projecting, you know, like to maybe like Brooklyn 3 for when Ember Moon wins the title. But the way that things are going right now with Asuka touring with the SmackDown house shows and stuff, they might call her up on the post-Mania SmackDown. So maybe that does mean that they have to just do a match involving Ember Moon that has them put in the title. Like, maybe they'll do a 4-way. Maybe they'll basically just replace. Who was the fourth? Was it Liv Morgan?
Wait.
Nikki Cross. Maybe they'll just replace Nikki Cross from the San Antonio 4-way with Ember Moon and just have her pin either Billie or Peyton.
I mean, that could be. And you know what, dude? While we've already touched on the subject, I mean, let's talk about that briefly. The idea that Asuka may be called up, which, honestly, nothing against her. I don't know if it was just because of, like, how confident you were in the beginning or just, like, NXT's booking or just what's going on with the women on the main roster, but it's even still kind of weird for me to visualize, like, Asuka in a Raw or SmackDown ring. I mean, how do you feel about her call-up potentially? We got to really emphasize that.
Yeah.
I mean,
it is weird. It is 100% weird. But, like, if you know, it's so hard. Because, like, I feel like NXT has built her up too much.
Yes, definitely.
Almost, like, to the point that she's like Brock Lesnar at this point. Like, you can't put her in the ring with anybody and have it be believable.
And, see, another conflict for me personally, I can't speak for you, but for me, that arises with that, like, I'm already envisioning, right, certain scenarios where she gets called up. I honestly fear with Raw booking, like, she'd get called up and her first big feud would be with Charlotte and she'd probably lose the pay-per-view match because I think Charlotte takes priority. And that would make me feel a certain way because of how I'm used to Asuka on NXT.
But and again, though, she's touring with SmackDown, though.
That's the good news. Yeah, as far as her on SmackDown goes, I'm like, not opposed.
There's nobody on, like, maybe Becky. Like, I could see Becky, but then it's face versus face. Unless they want to somehow try and bring Asuka in as a heel. But still, like, you can't do Asuka versus Alexa because that's, like, if she doesn't slaughter Alexa, she's losing credibility because of how dominant she was in NXT. Like, you can't, you know, I don't know, man. I don't know how they can do anything. Like, I think Asuka has gotten out of control, and I don't know how to bring her back down to earth.
See, and that's kind of why I was hoping. See, I don't think, and now, like, us discussing this has made me realize, it's not so much the idea of Asuka being on the main roster that I have a problem with. It's the idea of this Asuka being on the main roster I have a problem with. Like, if she stayed down in NXT long enough to drop the title, lose her return match, and then lose a program of maybe an up-and-coming female, that could like show dominance or whatever. I think that would humanize her enough and bring her down enough where it's like, okay, she could come up on the main roster, and if she's going to like job to Alexa or this one or that one, I may kind of have my gripes about it, but I think I could get by it. But if Asuka, as she is right now, would get called up, even after doing the obligatory, title pass and all that stuff, if Alexa were to beat her, I'm sorry, and I've been loving Alexa Bliss's work lately, I'd laugh my ass off. And you really can't expect any other reaction from me, because I look at that, and I'm sorry, to me it's a complete and utter mismatch. Even Becky, who I adore, the only way I see that as a viable matchup is kind of like you said, is if they made Asuka the definitive heel. And even then, I would expect Asuka to go over. I think you put it succinctly and put it perfectly. Asuka's out of control right now, and I don't know how you rein that shit in.
Yeah, I think the problem with Asuka being a heel is that, like, typically the heels are the ones that need to cheat to win, and Asuka has been built up to the point that she never needs to cheat because she's so dominant. So, like, her turning heel would be unfair to the baby faces because, like, she was already the most dominant wrestler on the roster, and now all of a sudden she's allowed to cheat too? Like, what?
I mean, dude, the thing is, Asuka's so dominant that if anything, the baby faces would be the ones cheating against her. Like, they'd have those moments of heeldom where they're, like, grabbing the tights or putting their feet on the ropes. Like, that's just how credible I envision Asuka to be. It would be complete lunacy to see her, like, raking eyes or grabbing tights when, like, have you seen her? It doesn't work. It doesn't compute. So the idea that she could potentially, and we can never emphasize that enough, it may be, a smoke screen, but that she could potentially be called up is really confounding because I don't know what you do with her. I'm happy SmackDown's getting her. I will say that much. I feel like SmackDown could use a ringer like her, especially when Raw has just the same women on rotation, and the only difference would be Asuka would get added to that mix, which somehow for me would make it even more maddening when I'm just begging them to use Emma. So it's good that SmackDown gets her when they actually know how to use all their pieces and not make it feel draining. But on the other hand, like, how do you handle her from a creative standpoint? But regardless, that's the future. In the present, she does have the stare down with Ember Moon. Oh, and by the way, screw Asuka, because Ember Moon coming out to save Asuka when it seemed like her arm was about to suffer a serious injury, and then Asuka just gives her smile, and then rather than saying thank you like a normal person, she's just thinking, oh wait, I still gotta assert dominance, I still gotta teach Ember her place. I mean, I did make a joke about how she works here, right? So she goes back and then she holds her title up high. Yeah, nice heelish tendencies there, Asuka. When I saw that, I wanted Ember to beat her so bad, so whatever they're doing is working, because now I'm like, yeah, Ember, put her ass down. So yeah,
I mean,
that's
I think that's probably the cleanest option, is to just have Ember go over Asuka clean, because then I think that would be Ember then becoming champion while being undefeated.
Right. And yeah, so I hope they handle it that way too. But in the meantime, we don't know what's going to happen. So I guess let's move on.
We got a recap of Nakamura's injury at TakeOver San Jose. And then we got into another recap of last week's Bobby Roode attack on No Way Jose. And then Cassius Ohno's big return. And then William Regal announces that on March 15th at the CFE Arena, which is in 2 weeks, Bobby Roode will defend his NXT championship against Cassius Ohno.
Yeah, I like that episodes of NXT are at least trying to have things with a bit of oomph to them. Like, we're getting an NXT championship match in 2 weeks, which only begs the question, if this is what we're getting on NXT TV, what shape is TakeOver Orlando taking? Like, what's that going to be if we're getting all of this now? I can assume, again, the NXT Women's Championship match is going to be Asuka versus Ember Moon. We already kind of have an idea of the tag title match, sure, and we'll get into that later. NXT Championship match, though, is still kind of a question mark, unless, of course, it is what I think it's going to be, and that's just a Nakamura's return match for the NXT Championship. Because they did give updates about him tonight. But yeah, I think it's very cool. Ohno's going to get his opportunity. Should be a solid match. I look forward to seeing him compete once again in an NXT ring. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, buddy. All right. So then we got to see Paul Ellering giving the Authors of Pain a pep talk, and then we went to some kind of advertisement. I think it was for Fastlane, and it was a horrible pun about how, we do things too slow these days. Stop and smell the coffee? No. we need to go faster. Fast lane. And then we got into our third and final match of the night, the main event of the evening. I versus the Authors of Pain.
I know I'm stating the obvious here to start, but DIY is so good. Like,
dude.
yeah.
I want them to get called up so bad.
I want them to get called up too, and this is both a scumbag point and a genuine point. I just was watching that match, and for some reason I was like, I can't wait to see Ciampa beat the shit out of Gargano. Like, I don't know, them feuding, I can't wait for that, because they're both quality performers. But I will say, too, I love them as a tag team. In fact, honestly, if you really want to get him over as single stars, I would actually take Booker T's advice, because he said in the past, like, tag teams do work in certain instances. I would keep him as a team for the time being. Have them go after the WWE tag team titles and then go on their big singles runs. I mean, why the hell not? Especially with Ciampa turning on Gargano. I think this team is fantastic. They get me into every match, and that's not to shortchange AOP either. I liked how they were, kind of bumping in this match. I like their selling of DIY's offense while still just being imposing. Like, one great visual, right, was when
they
Ciampa...
kind of did the Luke Harper thing where they kind of like stammered for everything, but they hardly ever fell.
Right. And, like, one great moment that stands out in my mind is when Ciampa, I think this was to Razor, but it could have been to Akam, where he's, like, chopping him, and he's like, and then Ciampa switches to slaps, and it's still, like, nothing, right? He's still eating that shit. And then he catches Ciampa in the sidewalk slam. I thought that was great. And then, of course, that double team, which I thought was nice. Like, yeah,
Dude, I mean, you say keep them together, but to me, Ciampa and Gargano can be the heart and soul of the cruiserweight division.
See, and what's sad is, and I know, like, that's not what you're saying, because, like, I do agree with you. My problem is I hope that WWE sees more in them than cruiserweight division, because I see bona fide stars in Ciampa,
absolutely.
and especially Gargano.
I was going to say, Ciampa I love dearly, but I don't know if they're ever going to let him be a star. Gargano, I think, is going to be a star whether they let him or not, whether they want him to or not.
Yeah, he could be that, Brian, in the sense of we don't want to push him, but the crowd's like, please push him, and just you see that tension there. This was a fun main event. Like, I will say, it sucks that TM61 isn't on the scene right now, because I would be loving their program with the Revival. But, man, did those guys reassert themselves in a major way? Because here I am thinking, I'm going to share with you guys the logic that was going through my mind that I shared with Ashton before it went live. Because the first lockup in this match, I started, like, thinking to myself aloud, DIY are going to win this, aren't they? Because I heard the rumors of a three-way dance for TakeOver Orlando. And I'm like, well, what claim would DIY have to this match if they don't win here? So I was thinking they were actually going to be two-time tag team champions, which would create a fascinating dynamic, because you have DIY, two-time tag champs, Revival, two-time tag champs going for third, and AOP, sure, only one time, but look at them. They're dominant as fuck. But NXT, to their credit, found another route, because the Revival come out and they spring an attack on DIY, send Gargano into the ring post, which he sold like death. I wouldn't be surprised if that shoulder separated. I think Cliff even wins seeing that. And then, did they get a Shatter Machine on Ciampa, or did they just kind of? They did. I thought so. Yeah. So they get the Shatter Machine on Ciampa. But then AOP, they reassert their dominance. We see a clothesline, double clothesline to both members of the Revival. And then they're looking to set up Dawson for the last chapter. But Wilder holds the rope down, sending, I believe, Razor over the ropes. And then Akam gets hit with the Shatter Machine in the visual of the fucking night. I popped for that so hard. And I wanted to ask you something, Ashton, because you're more attentive about this stuff than I am, admittedly. But when Revival's music was playing, and it was like, say yeah, and the crowd actually said yeah. Is that a first? Because
I don't know if that was a first, but that was the loudest I've ever heard the crowd, I think.
Yeah, because dude, like for me personally, and again, you are more attentive about this than I am. I've never seen the crowd participate with the whole "say yeah,
I don't
yeah" like
know.
they did
I
tonight.
mean, you listen, dude. I'm pretty sure they have before, but never to that degree.
And maybe that's why I took note of it, because it was to an impressive degree. They were
Deafening.
into
Like
it.
they were louder than the song.
Dude, that's my thing, and I'm so glad that reaction happened, because don't get me wrong, I'm down with a three-way dance, but I'd be lying if I didn't say that, like, for the last like month or two, I was kind of like fantasy booking and playing with the idea of just a Revival AOP feud, and it would go exactly as I thought it would, just based on tonight, with
Yeah.
Revival, even just by crowd decision, being the faces, because they popped for that Shatter Machine.
Dude, I'm telling you, like they were louder. Like the music was like, "Oh, say yeah, yeah!" It was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, they were so into it. And you know what? Like, again, it sucks that TM61 got hurt, because I feel like a Revival TM61 program would have been amazeballs, and it was already starting down that way before the injury. But the Revival are so good, and they already kayfabe wise have such credentials that if you just want to fluidly like put them in and out of the tag title picture, I'm not gonna mind. They didn't have anything else for them to do. They're back in the title hunt. I don't begrudge it. It's not like that Triple H thing where it gets so overbearing. Where like, oh my god, do we not have any other contenders? Mainly because they're so good and they're so credible. Like, I really just don't mind it at all. So knowing that these guys are going to get to mix it up with AOP, fucking right, man, and DIY again, you know, that is always a good
Yeah,
go-to.
we're gonna get to see them team up with DIY for a spot or two in this match to try and take down AOP. I guarantee it.
Oh, absolutely. And I guarantee you we'll probably see again a member of the Authors of Pain eating a Shatter Machine.
Yep.
Like, it's such a great fucking visual. Like, this
Oh,
behemoth up in the air only to eat knees. Like, amazing. And see,
I
that's
gotta tell you, man, that second Shatter Machine made me realize just how ridiculous Dash Wilder is.
dude, Dash Wilder, the underrated MV
Dude,
fucking P, baby.
right? He's so good. Like, you guys got to realize when you deliver a lung blower to someone, that really doesn't hurt them at all. The person delivering that move eats all of the weight. Like, the combined weight of his own body landing on his back, plus the other person landing on his knees, which then pushes even harder on his back. And Dash Wilder just jumped clean into the air and landed flat on his back, with the bigger of the two members of the Authors of Pain landing on his knees.
Yeah, dude's a fucking beast. Want me to play defense for my team? Got it. Want me to be a part of this amazing spot and carry the weight? These knees are strong enough. Give it to me. Like, unbelievable. And that's the thing. Like, and I gotta say this. I didn't think that it would happen, but like, even when there was the whole American Alpha Revival like rivalry, I won't lie, there were times like my affections were up in the air. Like, do I love the Revival more because they're just so punch 'em in the mouth and so sound in tag team wrestling, or do I love American Alpha because of like the mat wrestling and everything? And this is why I've got to give it at times to the Revival, because the thing is, when Alpha would suplex AOP, I'm like, yeah, that's impressive. But honestly, like, you look at the physique, and it's like, yeah, I could buy it. But that Shatter Machine, like, god damn, man. I'm like, no way did they just do that. Oh,
I
wait,
know.
they did.
These guys are like the two most underrated workers in the entire freaking company, and they're in a team together, and they're still underrated, even despite having the match of the year last year and putting on consistently great matches that people even acknowledge are great. They're still underrated because people still aren't like, oh yeah, Dash Wilder, top 5 worker in WWE, because he probably is one.
Yeah, probably. Like, dude, I'm telling you, I hope.
Like,
I
if
don't
you made a list of the best in-ring workers in WWE, like, the tippity top would be guys that are from New Japan, you know, Styles, Nakamura, probably Hero now that he's back.
Right.
But, like, both Wilder and Dawson would probably be in the top 10. Let's be real.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they went out and they earned that shit as far as I'm concerned. And that's what's so impressive about it. Like, these guys came together and they've become a tandem, very organic within the system, by the way, which is another plus. They didn't come from New Japan or ROH or this place or that
TNA.
place. or TNA, yeah. You know, and they did it through the system, and they've become a team now that give us moments like this that have me popping hard. I am like, yes, I want more of this. I'm telling you, I don't care if they come in as heels. I doubt they'd come in as faces. I'm just saying for the sake of argument. I don't care what they come in as. When they debut on the main roster, better be the loudest fucking pop of the night, because these guys fucking earn that shit. Like, if they get a lukewarm reaction, I'm going to be like, oh, you don't deserve them at all. You know, because this was so good. So good. Oh my God, I love the Revival so much. Hell, I'm not gonna lie, from a fandom perspective, I'll be rooting for these guys to be 3-time tag champions, and you know what? Don't even tell me that it's far-fetched, because there's your built-in story when TM61 can get back together. Yeah. They can go after the same guys that injured them for the fucking titles. Either that or AOP, who they get closer and closer to beating every time, to your point, Ashton. Either way, you've got a great story there. So I not only am I rooting for the Revival from a fandom point, I don't even think it's that far-fetched, depending on what the Revival's future is, which we don't entirely know. But that three-way dance, man, that could be match of the night at TakeOver Orlando. The tag division is so fucking good right now. God damn.
It really is.
Anything else you want to say, man? This is great.
I know, but like we're heaping all the praise on the Revival, and yet I feel like I still want to talk about how great DIY is too.
Yes, dude.
Because to me, like DIY are, man, like why is it that WWE has like a dozen or two incredible workers, and they choose to only use like 6 of them?
I really don't know, dude. It's something that frustrates me to no end.
Like, DIY are, to me, like we already talked about, Johnny Gargano has no ceiling. Johnny Gargano can be Daniel Bryan. Johnny Gargano can be freaking anything you want him to be. And when I say that, obviously I mean as a face, because, I mean, really, who wants to hate a guy who's that lovable? But as far as hate goes, Ciampa I think Ciampa can be anything too. But maybe with him, I don't know, man. They're both so good. Ciampa, like, I keep on saying, like, Ciampa's a better heel, but he's so lovable as a face too. He's got like a Randy Orton vibe to him.
Oh, but I want to see the Ciampa heel turn though. Like, I just want to see Ciampa ram Gargano's face through glass right in front of Candice LeRae, Gargano's wife, and just everybody gasps. Like, I want that angle. I want all the horrible things in that angle. But, you know, again, as a tag team, I love them too. I can't begrudge their tag work when they're so good at generating that interest, and especially if you're Gargano, at generating that sympathy.
Yeah.
They're magic together. Whether as opponents or partners, they're magic together. And that is a feud that they can coast on for the next decade, you know, just like Sami Zayn and Owens. Because, you know, even on random episodes of Raw, what do we do with Owens? Let's put him with Sami Zayn. Now, I don't always agree with that booking mindset, mind you, but it just shows you how great the feud is and how great those two are chemistry-wise. You could very easily say the same thing in my mind about Gargano and Ciampa, and it shows with everything they've done. Amazing.
Yeah.
Just amazing.
All right, let's close it out. I think we've been giving everyone the credit they deserve, so let's go ahead and move on.
All right, high spots and low shots. My low shot, Peyton Royce. I never once believed that you could beat Asuka, and it's not because you're a failure. Believe me, there are many people that can have that distinction, but it's because Asuka's OP. Better luck next time, Peyton, but enjoy being my low shot. Who's your low shot?
My low shot is Sean Maluda, because not only did you lose, but you triggered me. You made me remember what the Usos were before they got awesome.
I know, right? You know what? I'm in such a good fucking mood. High spot's got to be the Revival. They may not have won matches, they may not have done anything like that, but they spoiled a party like all great heels do, and they left their mark in a big way. When you're able to deliver a shatter machine to a member of somebody as big as like the Authors of Pain, that's fucking impressive. They just staked their claim once again on the NXT Tag Team titles, and they were really the final image of tonight's episode, which is what we're talking about the most, and we just had a considerable discussion about it. So yeah, Revival, totally my high spot.
Yeah, that's fair. The Revival are a great pick. But here's my thing. I can't beat that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick the next best thing. And to me, the next best thing is Cassius Ohno, because we already found out, like, he just showed up and just kind of, stood up for No Way Jose. And now he's getting a championship match in 2 weeks immediately.
Yeah, didn't even have to work for it. It's like, I don't know. I know Cassius Ohno isn't John Cena, but, pretty much.
Recognize.
Exactly. I'm Cassius Ohno. Recognize. Bobby Roode trying to slide in there. If that is your real name, we know what you're doing, Bobby. All right, but yeah, I agree with that. Didn't even have to lift a finger, gets an NXT championship match. That's fine with me. Any concluding remarks you have about NXT?
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
You want to share some Carmex? But no.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
But no. All right, guys. This has been NXT. This has been TWitWoW, the best wrestling podcast made for wrestling fans, by wrestling fans, on the web today. I'm John. That's my cohort and commentary, Ashton. Guys, be sure to comment, subscribe, and like the video. More likes you leave, the more likely we are to fuck with YouTube's algorithm and be the top search result for NXT reviews. And when you're the greatest at what you do, the top is the only place that you belong. So please, guys, if you enjoyed this, please leave a like. All of our media and everything you can find us at is in the description, so I will direct you to that before you leave this video. Our Twitter is there. Our Patreon is there, which recently reached its community goal for SmackDown live reactions. So thanks again to everybody who did that. We'll be live reacting to all SmackDowns in March on the road to WrestleMania. So great news. Live! And we've also got the Teespring, the TWitWoW store with the shirts, the mugs, and all the amazing merch, both of Scum Squad and TWitWoW Flair. So yeah, be sure to check all of that out. And guys, as far as content goes, several plugs here. First and foremost, I want to get the immediate plugs out of the way. We just did NXT. This is Wednesday. Friday, we have got Fastlane preview and predictions. It'll be going down 8 p.m. Eastern time. Be sure to join us. We're going to talk about the entire Fastlane card, our anticipation, who we think's going over, and most probably like implications going in to WrestleMania 33. So that's going to be an interesting video. Then Sunday, we have got Fastlane live reactions. Going to be covering the whole pay-per-view, and for every pay-per-view, TWitWoW live chat's amazing. I hope James can join us so that I don't have to tell him that I gave him a shout out, and then he's like, well, where is it? What timestamp? Like a little bitch. So yeah, guys, be sure to be on the TWitWoW live chat because it is the best place on the internet for pay-per-views. Now, for this other thing I want to plug, I'm not really going to plug it because my cohort and commentary, I think, could articulate it better than I could. Me and him have been talking lately about Lucha Underground content, and we've come to a consensus. So, partner, why don't you tell our lovely audience what they can be expecting?
Tell you what, guys, with this whole announcement that Lucha Underground will be coming to Netflix on March 15th, John and I decided what better time to do a series that we never got the chance to do when we originally wanted to do it. Because I don't know if you guys remember, but after Lucha Underground Season 1, there was like a 5 or 6 month break before Season 2. And we had plenty of time to fill, and we used that time to create not one but 2 series. The Lucha Spotlight, where we spotlighted specific performers in the temple, but also Lucha Rewatch. And we went through every week and we watched 4 episodes from season 1. And we talked about those 4 episodes on every Wednesday. And I think we got the episodes up early afternoon so that you guys could check them out before NXT came on. And we planned on doing Lucha Rewatch Season 2 in between Seasons 2 and 3, but as it turns out, there were literally like 6 weeks between Seasons 2 and 3, so that wasn't really enough time for us to watch all 26 episodes of Season 2. So we've officially decided that Lucha Rewatch Season 2 will begin it's not next Wednesday, is it, John? No, it is. Yeah, it is.
It is next Wednesday, yeah.
Next Wednesday, and it will be going live on this channel at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, which is perfect because that's noon on the West Coast, 1 o'clock Mountain Time, 2 o'clock Central, and if you live in the UK, it's at 8 p.m., which is nice and early, and you don't have to stay up late to watch us, Paul.
Exactly. So everybody can get in on this Lucha Underground goodness. Again, I wanted Ashton to break it down for you guys because I know I probably would have flubbed something somewhere, but guys, it's happening. Lucha Rewatch Season 2. It is going to be amazing, giving old viewers of Lucha Underground and people that are just like, ooh, what's this on my Netflix feed? The greatest thing to ever happen to your life ever. That's what happened.
Yeah.
We're going to give all that quality
and guys,
coverage.
we're going to be reviewing 2 episodes a week. So obviously next Wednesday is going to be episodes 1 and 2 of season 2. I almost said season 3, but it is season 2, which was the season that happened in 2016. So that should be really, really fun. And because it is 2 episodes a week, it's going to be a 13-week-long series with the last episode falling on the same day as Lucha Underground's return to television. Yes!
It couldn't work out any more perfectly unless it was Paul William Gregory's face. And you're right, you magnificent bastard. It is about you because we're servicing everybody with this series, and we hope that you all join us. It is going to be absolutely epic. I think we're going to have a really fun time with this. So I'm going to take the floor back, Ash, and I just wanted you to give a proper plug, and you did excellent. So the only other thing left for me to plug by my recollection is Q&A. Now, you guys always hear me hammer on about it. Today is March 1st. You know, we are in March. You have got 30 days to make this shit happen. Q&A number 9 is going to be Friday, March 31st. So you have got a huge fucking window. I mean, let's be honest here. It's a goddamn crater to get your questions in. Now, there are a multitude of mediums with which you can exercise to get your questions in. You already know our Twitter handles. They're in the description. You can comment on YouTube videos. You can Facebook us on our Facebook page. Be sure to leave a like. If you do that, I know that's Alex Foster's particular method. So, guys, no reason why you can't get questions in for Q&A. We've raised the cap 1 question from last Q&A. Used to be 3 questions. It is now 4 questions. A maximum of 4 questions you have. So you can pretty much ask anything you want. If we feel like a question is out of bounds, we will say so. But other than that, yeah, go nuts. And you could divvy up the questions any way you like. So it could be all 4 for both of us. Or if you want to be a feelings herder and do permanent psychological damage, you could just give all 4 to Ashton and leave me out in the cold, wondering what the fuck I'm doing with my life. So, you know, each to their own, right? So, yeah, be sure to divvy up the
know what James is going to do.
Well, I mean, yeah, I already know what James is going to do. He's going to ask me the very pertinent question, why has no one ever loved me? And then I'm going to be like, look in a mirror, and thus successfully fulfilling the function of Q&A. Fuck yourself, bitch. So, yeah, 4 questions. Submit them however you like. And, yeah, just it's always been a fun Q&A. You guys always come out with thoughtful, crazy, colorful, all sorts of questions. So with the cap at 4, I hope that's even more so. March 31st. Get that shit in. So, guys, with that said, you already know our huge Lucha Underground announcement. You know that Fastlane Preview and Predictions is coming this Friday in your feed. So until then, tune in and peace out.